We are back with Congresswoman Mikie Sherrill. Another of the issues that has been a hot topic is whether there should be a cell phone ban in schools. I wonder what your position is on that.
Yes, believe me. Again,
Yes.
Back to the fact that I have 4 teenagers. We can talk about, I know parents have concerns about safety, and we can talk about if they put them in bags on the door as they walk into the classroom, et cetera, how it operates, so we can do both. But I am just telling you that if your child has a smartphone and it's out on the desk and it bings, that there is almost 100% chance that they're going to look and stop paying attention and possibly get involved in whatever text or whatever's going on. And the teachers are reporting without those, they get much better engagement in the classroom. They have much better discussions. It's just, I mean, imagine yourself and then take a young person and imagine how hard it would be to teach that classroom with these cell phones in it.
So the reason I'm asking the question is because New York just recently, as part of the budget, passed a cell phone ban that's going to start in the fall, bell-to-bell cell phone ban. But parents are still really concerned about it. And maybe it's a leftover from 9/11 or whatever, but they feel, you know, with that and with the possibility of shooters in schools, they want the ability to contact their kids if there's something going on. Is there a solution for that? I mean, do we need to have kids with flip phones as opposed to an iPhone where that bings? I mean, what would you say?
Well, that's one way. But like I said, there are also classrooms now where you have bags that you put the cell phone in before you go into the classroom. And maybe there's a little bit of a difference between, you know, K through 8 versus 9 through 12. But I will tell you, we are just, I think, not addressing the problems that we are seeing with children and this constant attachment to screens. And it is impacting their learning. And again, I have 4 kids, so it's maybe not every kid. Some are better at navigating this than others, and some are addicted and have a really hard time if there is any sort of screen in front of them in paying attention to anything else. And that includes the teacher in the classroom.
But also, you know, don't you think that there's a situation where parents are to blame as well? I know that, I mean, when I go out to dinner with my daughter, who's not in high school anymore, she sits there at dinner on the phone, and I have to say, you know, we're here, just the 2 of us and talking. You know, usually it's better to just talk.
Right.
And I think that what happens is sometimes that the phone becomes a babysitter.
Yeah, I mean, and I get it, right? I had at one time like 6, 4, 2, and 0, you know, baby, and it would have been a godsend at times when I needed to get something done, dinner on the table, or you just get dressed in the morning, to say, here, just look at your iPad. So I get it, but right now we have a situation where it's gone too far, and it's damaging. We have algorithms starting from as young as 2, where it's just set up to just draw, you know, eyes on screens with the ability to then develop all kinds of marketing. And then with these algorithms, it's totally different. When you see the parent company of TikTok in China, ByteDance, it's all positive messaging for kids. It's limited time on the screens. They have the algorithms, and they know how damaging it is for kids, and they're protecting their children. We need to do the same.
One of the things that I know that you're running for governor, but you're still a congresswoman in Washington, and I know that you've talked a lot about the need for the Democrats to have a new playbook, to have the ability to play hardball with the Republican administration in Washington. I wonder what your ideas are and how you would accomplish that, and how you think the party leaders should accomplish that.
Yeah, we have to take those opportunities. And I think, you know, we have some people acting as if this is somehow 1980 and everybody's going to work out some collegial deal and we're all just working for the betterment of the country. And that is not the case. We are dealing with someone who's like a playground bully. Trump is like a playground bully. He takes your money on Monday, you know, and if you give it to him, that doesn't mean he's not coming back Tuesday, right? So So these law firms and these universities who think they can sort of make a deal and then get left alone, that's not how this works. It's not how it ever works.
So how do Democrats, so far Democrats, believe me, have not come up with a strategy for stopping him or responding to him. So what's the strategy that is, for example, will allow the House Democrats to try to take control and have at least a two-party system in Washington in the next elections a year from November?
Well, I mean, I'm a little biased here. I think it's the states. I think it's state governors. Everybody is so focused on Washington, and yet in Washington you have a Republican president, a Republican majority Senate, and a Republican majority House. And so we are fighting back. I mean, you know, you can go to my social media and see what I'm doing in hearings and trying to push back against the incompetence of Pete Hegseth and trying to introduce legislation so we have oversight.
Some Republicans, some moderate Republicans, to join you. I mean, because
to be effective in Washington.
Right.
But in the states, with strong governors, you can take this on, and we're seeing the governors do that. We're seeing the work in the courts with strong AGs taking on this administration, fighting
constant
back
suits.
there.
I mean, there's constant suits.
Constant and winning in many cases, and also then pushing forward. And this is what Democrats have got to do, is not just push back against Washington and the chaos and how bad it is for states, but also then define the pathway forward, as we're seeing from people, like I said, like Maura Healey and Josh Shapiro and Wes Moore in this area, and really cutting through red tape and bureaucracy, building homes, building out the power of the future, looking at the healthcare system, because that is going to be, I think, really compelling to people. People don't just want to push back against this administration. I do hear every day how concerned people are about rights and freedoms and people being picked up and detained without charges. And that is fundamental to the Constitution and the laws that governors have to fight. But also, how are governors going to deliver a better future for people in their states? And I think we see a lot of movement there.
See, I think that, I mean, my observation is that you've had a situation, if you take a look at the last election, where Democrats used the argument of we have to be concerned about democracy, and Republicans said we're going to reduce your prices at the supermarket. So the affordability issue is part of the reason why they voted for the Republican candidate. And democracy is a nice concept, but it didn't put food on the table. So do you think that Democrats have to readjust their arguments to focus on what people actually care about?
Well, I think we have a huge opportunity here, because I think it's both. Look, I think democracy creates opportunity for everyone. So otherwise, you see somebody like Trump and his billionaire cronies climbing the ladder of success and then pulling it up behind them.
Right.
Whereas democracy creates opportunity for people, and it makes life more affordable, and it puts money in your pocket. But I have to define for people, as I'm running, why that is and what that looks like on the ground. And I think you're exactly right that Trump and Republicans said we're putting money in your pocket, but they're doing anything but. They're costing people money. The local coffee shop saying, look, we're raising prices because of tariffs. A builder is saying, I'm stopping building because my HVAC systems are going up 30 to 40%. Right. We're seeing Canadians saying they're not going down the shore this summer. We're going to cost the tourism industry. So what I have to do as governor, and what I am building out right now, is a plan to say, okay, well, we're going to fight that, and I'm going to take him to court, but also, here's how we're going to build out the future in New Jersey. Here's how we're going to drive your everyday costs down. So I think it's and both.
So you joined Congress in 2018. I wonder, have things changed a lot since you first came to Washington? Yeah.
So I joined Congress in a time when I thought there was a crisis. And as I always say, right? Yeah. And as I always say, in the military, you're trained to run to the crisis. So as a Navy veteran, I decided, okay, the crisis is in Washington. I'm going to run for Congress. And I had a theory of the case that I could build broad bipartisan coalitions of people around things that would be helpful to New Jersey and deliver on that. And in doing so, make Congress work better. And I tell people I achieved 50% of my goal. I became the most effective member from the delegation in my second term, but Congress is not working better. If anything, it's gotten far, far worse.
More partisan?
More partisan. I was just, as I was mentioning, I was sitting in a House Armed Services hearing, just demanding that we do an investigation into Signalgate. And every member of that committee knows how harmful to national security this administration has been, Pete Hegseth has been, and the fact that they are unwilling to even look into this or even vote for training for Pete Hegseth on how to handle classified information.
Is this fear of Trump more than anything else?
I think that's a large part of it. I think it is, I think it's a fear of this, an unwillingness to address and attack these problems. I think it's this hope. I think it's cowardly, but I think it's this hope that if they just sort of duck and cover right now, that people won't notice, and when things get a little easier, maybe they'll do something about it. But I think it's really, really dangerous.
So let's introduce you a little bit to our viewers and to your voters. Do you have any hobbies?
You know what? I've been asked this recently. I've got to get some hobbies. I've been so busy lately. In fact, the hobbies I had that I really liked, I've kind of given up recently. I love coaching my kids' teams. I don't have time for that. So my hobbies now are often watching my kids' sports. I watch a lot of high school and middle school sports right now.
What was your first job?
A lifeguard when I was in high school.
Do you remember your dreams?
Yeah, because I wanted to be a Navy pilot. And so I did. In fact, I was told by my dad, I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if the Naval Academy takes women, and I don't know if the Navy takes women pilots. So that was kind of living a dream to do all that.
So last question. If you could pass one piece of legislation, what would it be?
Wow. I would love, that's a really good question because there's so many that are coming to mind right now. But right now, I would love at this point to pass legislation to just send a federal block grant back to states, back to the state of New Jersey, to run some really key programs and innovate on them, specifically in the healthcare area, because it's really hard to innovate in healthcare because the federal government runs so much of it, and they have been tearing it down bit by bit by bit. So I would love a huge federal block grant to address some of the healthcare needs in New Jersey.
Congressman Mikie Sherrill, thank you so much. Good luck in your race, and thank you for joining me, and thank you at home for joining us as well. We are back with O'Brien Murray and J.C. Polanco. So if Elise Stefanik were to win the Republican primary, how would she fare against Kathy Hochul?
Be a blowout. Governor Hochul would win. Governor Hochul would win in double digits. I mean, it won't even be close. I don't know how you call the January 6 terrorists J6 hostages and think you have a shot to win governor of New York. The only way you win a governorship in New York is as a moderate, centrist Republican.
I don't taste victory. I taste cigars, baby. This bet, again, if that happens, I will take Elise all day long.
You say she's going to beat Kathy Hochul?
Absolutely. Any Republican against Hochul head-to-head this time, after her last race, I do not see how that doesn't happen.
Time. Here's the bottom line. The governor just did a budget that has, it's like a something for everything budget. She's got public safety. She's got affordability. She's got refund checks. She's got more, cell phone bans. You name it. This is a terrific budget for her.
She's lost 2 lieutenant governors. She's from upstate. She can't hold lieutenant governor. So you know what she's doing? She's changing the law. So you have to run with the governor. She picks her person. She doesn't want to go through her 3rd lieutenant governor again and lose him.
That's not a reason for losing the race to Elise Stefanik.
No, that's not
it just shows what she's
not going to happen.
capable of.
You've been done this business for too long. It is impossible to win New York as a conservative Republican. You can win as a moderate liberal Republican. I'll give you an example of what I mean. This last election cycle that we had with Kathy Hochul versus Congressman Zeldin. Congressman Zeldin, great guy, veteran, hard worker, great family guy.
He had some good arguments.
Good arguments.
But
Long Island base.
But listen to the problem. Congressman Zeldin was MAGA. Harry Wilson out of Westchester is not MAGA. He is the model of a Republican that could win in New York, not Congressman Zeldin in this environment. If the Republicans were to figure this out, now hear me out. Look at what other states do. You have a state like West Virginia. Walk back with me for a second. For a long time there, West Virginia Democrats understood that Republicans win 99% of the time the presidential race. So what do? They support a conservative centrist Democrat, and they had Senator Manchin for a very long time. Republicans in New York, if they want to win this time around, they got to go centrist. They got to go moderate so that they can appeal to independent voters. You don't call the January 6th terrorists hostages.
JC,
you do know
I'm
this.
sorry.
If you go to Louisiana, they supported. Wait, before this governor here, they had a pro-life Democrat. That's how the Democrats in Louisiana won their position. Republicans in New York have to take something out of the playbook out of those other states that have Democrats, like Democrat governor of Kentucky, who are centrist in winning Republican.
I can't believe he's letting you finish your sentence.
I don't know where to begin, Marcia, at this point. First off, we're talking Louisiana. My friend Bobby Jindal from college was the governor down there. I know it pretty well. I've been hunting down in West Virginia, been down there quite a bit. I wouldn't use those examples at all.
No, come back to this.
You got to get out of the classroom and travel the state.
Can a MAGA Republican beat Kathy Hochul? That's the question.
One can.
Who's the right one?
Hochul's record, Elise Stefanik, the public will love. They will be eaten out of her hand. She is phenomenal. And you know what she'll be? She will be new to most voters down here. That's the great thing about it. She is up in the polls right now. It's her choice to run and get the Republican nomination or not. Truly believe that.
What do you think?
You do know that there are many more Democrats in New York State than Republicans, right?
And you know what's
that's
even
right. I forgot. Of course, Marcia,
but
we
you know what
this.
you don't realize?
But look what Lee Zeldin did in New York City last time.
It was still 6 points.
Yeah, but he didn't win because he was MAGA. Don't you understand what I'm saying?
We can look at that
Man,
campaign.
Obi.
He was outspent. He got
Obi,
a later
he's a great guy.
start.
I got it.
He had a hard primary.
Good
All
family
these
guy,
things.
too.
Lee's fantastic.
Yeah,
right.
he is, but he's not
But
going
I
to
will
win.
tell you this.
Hochul
I had a conversation with the head of the Republican Party, Ed Cox, and he told me that if they were going to have a race, that they could not be a primary. They have to pick one candidate to run against Kathy Hochul because primaries hurt them.
I love Ed. I've been talking to Ed for 20 years on things and all that. He's the chairman. That's what he would love, and all the chairmen would love that. I don't know that you're going to get Blakeman to sit down out in Long Island. I don't know that you're going to get, because he could run without losing his seat. And I don't know that you're going to have Lawler. I don't know, Lawler would drop out. They need 25% from the party.
Don't you think Bruce Blakeman would have a case to make, given the fact that he comes from Long Island?
He'd have a great case to make, but against Elise Stefanik, she would still win.
She wins the primary, no doubt. I don't doubt that she wins the primary, but this is the problem. You're dealing with the last 100 days of President Trump's administration have been nothing but chaotic, and it's just going to get worse. In New York, it's toxic. The MAGA idea is toxic. When you're talking about extorting universities for money, when you're talking about not following the rule of law, when you're talking about seeing kids getting deported, when you see the January 6th violent terrorists get completely pardoned, all of that's going to be in a commercial against a Republican in November. So you're going to put a MAGA Republican in? It's going to be terrible.
Orange man bad.
No, it's not
work.
orange man bad. That's what that is.
What are they for? The Democratic Party has to come out and say what they're for. Why in New York City are more voters registered independent than for the Democratic Party and the Republicans?
But this is the problem. But this is the problem. I'm a registered independent. I'm not affiliated.
So
but guess
why are they?
Jason, let me explain this answer for what I've gone through.
But you just said
when Michelle Caruso-Cabrera knocked on the door in the Bronx to a Democratic household named Caruso or Cabrera, I forget which one it was. I wasn't with her, but her last name. They said, we're not voting the Democratic primary. We're tired of the Democrats. A Latino family, Latino candidate, the party. And this was before
Why
Harris.
are more people registering as independents? Tell us, Jason.
Well, I am registered independent. I left the Republican Party after 21 years because of Donald Trump's MAGA nonsense. I think it's hateful. I think it's awful. I think it's authoritarian. And it doesn't bode well. But this is the problem. I'm not a Democrat because of a lot of the things that we're hearing. The reality is that the second largest enrollment in New York are non-affiliated voters. Third are Republicans.
Sure.
So you got a long way to go to convince me that somehow some Republican is going to be able to win in November when my people, the non-affiliated, are the second largest group of voters in New York.
And this year, just this week, with 100 days with Donald Trump as president, the Democratic Party today is still talking about Harris not being part of the party and not helping him. Her candidate for VP not being part of the party and Biden not being part of the party. All three of them, from the most recent candidates around the presidency, are going nowhere.
Right.
And they're hurting the party. Yep. They need to see what they're for, and Kathy Hochul can't get that done.
Listen, the reality is that this budget negotiation that we just saw in New York, I think it's going to show that Governor Hochul has a lot of strength. She got a lot of things done. She got the cell phone ban.
She held out for a month to get the things that she wanted, including discovery, and to be able to take mentally ill people off the street against their will.
That's good. And she did it. She did great work. And I think she has time to rebuild. And I think she has a lot of time to show that she's tough. We saw how tough she was with the mayor. I think we're going to see a tough side of Kathy Hochul to make her look very strong statewide. But more importantly, She is the antidote to whatever MAGA throws in New York, and I don't see a MAGA.
If Kathy Hochul were to win this race, what she would have to do is buy a campaign plan and commute from Erie County to Holt Erie County and make sure she's there every football game so every voter knows she paid for their stadium and put them in their seats, number one. Then she's got to get on the plane,
That was
fly.
a little vicious.
I know, he's very vicious today.
It's true, though. That's how she
At
wins
least
Erie
I can
County.
say Elise Stefanik is a good woman. She's a good county. Yes.
Pataki won Erie County. Hochul is from there, but she won a special election. She gave the Bills the stadium. The Bills fans love it.
I love the Bills.
Excuse me, but the Democrats in New York City don't care about the stadium.
Then she flies down and sits with you every Sunday, Marcia, and she's on your show, and she's on all the news shows in New York. Then she goes to Long Island for dinner. And she goes to Nassau and Suffolk. And once she's done that, she drives up to Westchester and the Hudson Valley, flies back, and does the same thing next day.
She'll do it.
So
That's all she's got to do.
So you say she could win?
She could win, and I know she could win, and you know she could win because she's also the incumbent.
If she wins, she's got to do that. I didn't say that she could. That's the only way. She has to get her numbers up in Nassau and Suffolk, where she was
her
clobbered.
poll numbers have started to go up. She now is supported by 48% of New Yorkers.
And it's only going to keep going up. But there's no way that you're going to tell me that, considering that you have a strong governor, you're going to have a MAGA
After her
Republican.
budget, she announced a budget deal on Monday, and every day since then, she's done a victory tour on another issue someplace in the state.
The number, Marcia, I'm getting too old. You may remember the number much better than me. In that same poll, what percentage of New Yorkers do not want her to stay as governor and want someone else? That number, when I heard it, I don't remember it because I fell on the floor and hit my head. New Yorkers don't want her back.
No, that's not a good question to poll because everybody wants change. I mean, how many people...
Ask Joe Biden how that number worked. Right direction, wrong direction.
The good thing is this, that it could only go up for Democrats right now. It could only go up for Democrats, Marcia.
Does congestion pricing hurt her?
In the primary, it might help her. But I think she has bigger problems in New York than that with Torres running down here. Delgado in the Hudson Valley, Torres down here, and whoever picks up Long Island.
But if you take a look at that same poll, which was a Siena poll, by the way, it basically says that neither Torres nor Delgado register in single digits. They're not on the wavelength.
I agree that they're very low right now. You're talking about an election more than a year away. You're talking about raising money and being able to spend it. And right now, you're not going to get in the way of the governor and the budget and what she's doing in this session. You will see them working. Delgado's been traveling the state. The first thing you've got to do is build up your party support. He has to explain why he's leaving the governor and running on his own. That's a big problem. Torres turned her down before as lieutenant governor, and now he's running against her.
But again, she's the incumbent. She's in a powerful position. She's showing her strength during the budget negotiations. And quite frankly, New York City is where most of the votes are still, and they're going to support her. And the elected officials are going to endorse her.
Here's the question. What about the power of incumbency?
That's what I'm saying.
To do stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
The incumbent.
No, the incumbent. You can't monopolize the entire time.
Well, I monopolize.
Obi, haven't even said a word, and I talk in Spanish. I'm talking fast.
If Andrew Cuomo is the next mayor of New York, if he's the next mayor,
is he going to be the next mayor?
As of today, yes.
Oh, look at that.
But a lot can happen between now and a couple 180 days from now. But if he's the mayor, he will work against Hochul, and he has already been supporting Torres. Torres endorsed
there's
Cuomo
no
already.
way that the mayor of New York City is going to actively work against the sitting governor because of the power of incumbency. We're going to need a good working relationship with the governor. Things will change once
because he needs money from the state.
Yes, he's not going to come after her.
How many boxes of cigars do you want to start? I will
don't
tell you
know,
this.
man.
Cuomo will go against Hochul all day long if he's mayor.
Okay, listen, I am going to tell you again that the idea that he's going to start launching a campaign against her is just incorrect. He needs the support.
You don't have to launch it, too. It's ground game. It's everything else with it.
Look, we're talking, the fact is it could only go up for Democrats. They have to play their cards right now. The only way to play your cards right, Marcia, is by focusing on purple districts, coming back to the middle, and not supporting socialism like they're doing now by parading around these Democratic Socialists of America as their leaders of their party.
Can we agree on who the next pope might be? That might be easier.
I think the Filipino guy got it. His name is Cheeto.
So, guys, there's so much more to talk about. We're going to have you back again, but right now we have to say goodbye and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me as well.